Hey there, welcome to School of Emo, the podcast where we dive into the world of emo, pop punk, and everything in between. If you've ever found yourself in your car screaming the lyrics to Taking Back Sunday, wearing way too much eyeliner in the early 2000s, adding a buckle or a chain to every outfit you've put on, you are in the right place. I'm Erin Judge, and each week I will be your fellow student, guiding you through the music, the culture, and the history that shaped an entire generation of angsty teens. I am not the teacher of this school. I am a fellow student, here to learn alongside you and from you. Together, we will cover a lot of information that doesn't really matter, but will remind us of the days of stalking MySpace channels and getting lost in chat rooms. So connect your dial-up, turn on your webcam, and let's go to School of Emo.
Welcome to my kitchen and welcome to a slightly different recording format because we just lost power. And if that is not the way to celebrate coming back from the Emo's Not Dead Cruise 2026, I don't know what is. We live in Nashville and we came back to a complete and total ice wonderland, terrifying, apocalyptic place. Trees are exploding. We had power when we got home, but now a few days later, we lost it again. So I don't know what's going on, but a lot of people are without power and it really sucks. So sending love to everybody. I'm grateful that we were on the cruise when the storm hit. We didn't really get the fun snow part of it. Everything literally is ice as we're back. It's just crunchy. It's not really snowy, but it looks pretty. And we got to miss most of that and still get home on time. A lot of cruisers are stuck in Miami even now. I'm recording this on Wednesday. We got back to Miami on Monday, and I know a lot of people are worried they're going to be stuck for like a week because of all the snow ice storms that moved through while we were gone. So I'm sure a lot of people have different experiences in this whole review than even I have on their travel back. For us, it was actually very smooth. Surprisingly, our flight left on time. We made it home on time. We got to our house fine, all of that. And we are very, very grateful for that. So today we're going to recap the Emo's Not Dead Cruise 2026. This was my husband and I's second year on the ship. This was the first year on the bigger ship. So they have used Norwegian, I believe, for the last 3 years. Maybe for the first, I'm not 100% sure. But it was like a similar boat or the same boat for years 2 and 3. But then for year 4, this year, they went up to a bigger boat called the Norwegian Joy and almost doubled, if not actually doubled, the amount of people, the capacity, because in previous years sold out within pre-sale. Even those within pre-sale didn't always get a seat or a room. And so they wanted to accommodate more people. And the marketing message around that was bigger boat, like more activities, more people, like everything was going to be bigger, right? More bands. They were pushing the go-karts that were going to be there, water slides, like all these extra amenities that we didn't have on the smaller boat. And I think something that most people are going to say, like, I don't want to just complain, and I won't. There's some amazing things that happened, and overall it was a great trip. But, last year I came back like on such a high. And if you listen to my recap from 2025, we came back just like, this was the most incredible trip ever. Like everything went well, like beyond, like just blown away, like beyond my expectations in my experience. And maybe having that experience is the problem. This year just isn't that at all. Not bad. Like, will we go back? I don't know. Like, we're on the fence. But even the fact that we're on the fence and it's not just like an immediate yes, and that has nothing to do with the money, which is also kind of wild. I'd honestly pay double for the old experience. It's just the bigger boat was not better. It was so much worse. And I hope that they can address it, but honestly, I don't know how they will. So we're going to talk about that piece before we get into like a recap of each day. So with the boats, they have like the different venues. If you've ever been on a cruise ship, you know that there's really not that many like venues for concerts. Like you don't really think about concerts on a cruise ship. So what they do is on the pool deck, they cover the biggest pool. So you don't really get a lot of pools. There's like a very small pool and like 2 hot tubs. And that was the same this year as last year. Maybe last year had like more hot tubs, honestly, open because this year there were water slides in the way and like a kid's playground that was there, not used. the theme of the ship. But they cover the main pool area with a stage, and then there's like a floor area. So you're standing on top of what would have been the pool. And then there are like the upper decks, so like kind of balconies looking over the pool deck area. So last year's ship, the pool deck area was around the same size, like on the ground. I believe that was all the same size. The stage was like the same size. Again, I think there were actually more hot tubs because this year the whole like one section of the small pool was filled with a playground that was never used and stairs up to water slides. On the ship last year, they had facing the stage, the one upper deck that was all connected, so it walked all the way around. But then they had like another deck up above that. So there were viewing areas all along the upper deck area. So the first upper deck, there were viewing areas there. There were also viewing areas on the upper tier. So it was like 3 levels of viewing space, and you could hear and see the entire stage. So it created so much space if you wanted to like get away from people a little bit, if it was a set that you didn't want to be like in the mix for, but you still wanted to see, like there was so much room to see. They had chairs lining the upper deck for most of the entire round space. They still had that, so you still got the chairs for some people. But in the old ship on the floor, there was a whole seated section for ADA that was like connected to kind of the VIP area that kind of came through. This year, they had a terrible ADA section. It looked like they covered like a hot tub and they put people there, but they were only lifted so much and seated that I've seen views of like their cameras. You can't see that, like once everyone is in the space, and again, we had double the people. So the floors of most of the pool deck shows, by the time that it really got started, were completely packed, like shoulder to shoulder, like jammed in there. Hundreds of people, if not like 1,000 people, right? And so the people who were in the ADA section couldn't see a thing. And the problem with the area that would have been the ADA section is it was like a circle area that was still kind of divided because there were these like benches that would have been used during the pool that you're not supposed to stand on, but people walk over them. The old ADA section was a fence. So we loved the spot right behind the ADA section because you could lean against the fence and everyone in front of you seated. Obviously, it's not as crazy because the pit is going to be pushed off because there's a whole fence. It was the perfect spot. And this year we chose the same spot, but the barrier was so low to the ground that like almost broke my knee at one point because we got shoved into this little like bench multiple times. And there were some people that used it as an ADA section, like some people who got there really early that were able to like use their like wheelchairs and stuff at the very front. But it was also right in front of the speaker. So it was just kind of a mess in terms of the setup. The kind of VIP area, like for the band members and stuff, like that looked really terrible too because it didn't really extend past the stage. So it was only like a side stage view. So that really sucked. And the other venues were very similar. The theater in the old boat, the smaller boat, seemed wider. It also had like 2 tiers. So there's a balcony section. The theater of this one had no balcony section. So it felt like it was at least 75% of the size of the bigger one. But there were some big shows in the theater this year because, again, there were more bands and more shows overall. And like we had to wait 30 minutes before doors open to make sure we had a spot. And like we got great spots, so maybe we didn't need to do that. But the lines were like out the door, like all along, like a walkway area, like hundreds of people deep pretty quickly before doors opened because the theater was getting at capacity and people were getting turned away from those shows. And so we ended up scrapping a lot from our schedule in order to get to the pool deck area early because there was like one spot we could find that we wouldn't get shoved, pushed. We'll get into that. We still did, but still have a great view and get our experience that we were paying for and wanted. And that was like kind of the only experience we could get. And then with the theater, we were waiting in line. And so instead of getting to like run by another show, like we were stuck there. The atrium area was the same size as last year, but again, they had huge sets in the atrium and crazy, very, very packed, very intense, very hot. They had another room called the Manhattan Room. We only went to that venue once, but it felt also extremely small, and a lot of people have trouble with that room. It was extremely hot. Again, most rooms were very hot. It was almost like there was no air conditioner at all. Like they need fans next year. It was so bad, like saunas. And so we were there for only 2 songs of Escape the Fate, and we left. So we didn't really spend much time in the Manhattan room, but I know people that got at capacity a little bit and just got kind of insane because it was so packed. And then there was a room called The Social, and that's where they had the comedy sets. They had like the emo night, like emo social events, and it was a tiny little room. The Manhattan one was actually a dining room that they converted, so small. And then The Social was like a normal kind of like hangout, smaller venue. But the comedy shows like were at capacity very quickly. A lot of people didn't even get to see them. Like we got there, I think 30 minutes before doors opened to get in line in order to get a seat, like to get to see one show. We had planned to see more, to see like all the comics on board, but once we got to that one show, it's like, okay, well, you don't even stand a chance unless you want to spend a lot of time waiting in line, and then you're kind of stuck in there, right? Because it's a comedy show. So it was less come and go. They did have an extra venue outdoors this year, Spice H2O. We only went there for a morning chat, so I don't know what a show was like out there, but that was towards the back of the boat, or the front of the boat, the back of the boat, I don't know. It was at one end of the boat, but it was like a smaller stage with an outdoor space, and that seemed pretty decent. So I know that there were some big bands out there, and I can't speak to that experience, but I think some people enjoyed that there was an extra outdoor set, so that's nice. But overall, the venues were so much smaller, and because there were so many more people, everything just felt so crammed, and it felt extremely crowded. And because of the crowds, it also felt extremely chaotic. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. But the overall consensus from a lot of us that have been on the ship before, and like one thing I loved about last year, I was so nervous going into my first year on the boat because I was expecting more of a true festival experience. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to get stepped all over and thrown up on and like all these things, assaulted, but the community was so good, and it was such a surprise. Where our first day we were like, yeah, I'm not going to get close to that stage, like let everyone do their thing down there. By the second day, like we were right in front, like in it, and making friends and having a blast, and like felt completely safe and secure, and like the security felt great. This year it did not feel that way. It felt very chaotic. It felt very unsafe in a lot of ways. People were extremely drunk. We had a lot of bad drunken experiences with people. It did not seem like there was enough security. Like the security that was handling the crowd surfing, incredible. Like the security that was there was like top tier, amazing. They were doing their best, but it seemed like there was the same amount of security. And I'd love to hear Sixth Man actually talk about this. Like how much more security did you add when you doubled the amount of people on the boat? Because it felt like the same amount of security was there, and all the security were only dealing with crowd surfers, that there was zero security for anywhere else. And it felt very, very unsafe. Like if I was by myself, like we didn't drink. I was really worried for a lot of people who were like, there were people like getting it on in the hot tub, blowjobs happening on the upper deck. Like I got threatened, like pushed and physically threatened by a man twice my size because he was drunk and tried like standing on this upper thing. And I was like, okay, get down. You're not supposed to stand there, because the security wasn't handling that like they were supposed to. And so it was a mess. I got like not thrown up on, but a girl had water in her mouth, couldn't hold the water in her mouth, like spit it all over my shirt in the elevator because she was so drunk, and her friends couldn't handle her. Like there were people who were just passing out. Like it was insane. And really just, I think the whole pitch, and again, I don't want to just be complaining because I don't think that's fair, but I think a lot of this is very constructive criticism because, we got one of the cheaper rooms and still paid like over $3,000 for this trip. And, I've heard Matt talk about it as the vision he had of being this kind of more luxury experience for people who like, we want the festival experience. We want to see our favorite bands, but like we're getting older, right? And we also want to have like a great vacation and have good food and all these things. And like I felt that from last year, like felt like a luxury. And I was like, this is a no-brainer. This is amazing. Like such an intimate experience with these bands and community, and it feels safe, and that's such a like a fresh thing. And this year did not feel that way at all. It feels like they didn't take into consideration the whole point of the cruise, which is the shows. Like the venues were terrible. It felt like they increased the size of the boat simply to get more people on board and make more money, and not for the actual people that were on board and like what they were selling, which is the shows. They had the go-karts, they had the water slides. They weren't open at all times. Like the go-karts were like $15 a ride. Like you had to get into a lottery system to do most of like the extra like special events. And I think for like the big go-kart race, they did have mini golf. Like we did that one day because that was free, or if it wasn't supposed to be, it was all there. So like we played that one day, but like that wasn't worth losing all of the viewing space. They also, last year, the upper decks and like all the deck areas, again, were just much bigger because they didn't have all that extra stuff we didn't need. And so every day they put out lounge chairs, and we were able to like lay on a lounge chair, look out at the ocean, maybe read a book for a little bit, listen to the set that's playing behind you in the pool deck. They didn't put out the chairs this year. There was one tiny little space that you could go to as like a sun deck. But beyond that, like there was really not a lot of that either. So it just felt like they took away so many things that were so valuable, and instead they just shoved us all in like small spaces with zero airflow. And that really sucked. And I don't want to forget that, because we're on the same boat next year. And if you're considering booking, like go into it with that experience. Like don't listen to a single thing from years 1 through 3, like because it's not the same experience at all. It's a completely different experience. Is it still worth it? Maybe. Will we end up going? Maybe. But it's more like a dread of like, hope maybe it's a little bit better, versus like an excitement. Like this year felt we were like purchased right away and like excited all year. I just don't feel that, which is such a bummer to feel. There were a lot of delays on the first day. Most of that was due to rain in the area, maybe the time of year, I don't know, but like that kind of sucked. Our Miami day was terrible, but that was not under the control of anybody. It was also extremely hot on the boat, extremely humid. Did not feel that as much last year, so that was such a bummer. And there were so many lines. We spent so much time standing in lines. We spent an hour standing in line for merch. Still didn't get something that we wanted. Like the size were sold out. So like it was insane, the lines. Insane. So that was a bummer, but expected with more people. Like I don't know how they'll fix that next year, but I know a lot of people were frustrated by it. The delays, like again, it felt like, I don't know what was going on. Like the first day it was due to rain, but it kind of became a theme where nothing ever really started on time. There were some issues, as we'll talk about through specific sets, of like the audio team and the band, like things not working, and like that might have contributed to some delays, like time for sound check and all of that. Doors never opened when they said they would, so again, you were waiting in line and still waiting, and then it was a little bit of chaos. Like I think that they bit off more than they could chew, so hopefully just maybe that's a staffing issue and they can fix that next year. But like Sixth Man does cruises and concert cruises, so like I don't really understand where it all went wrong. Like they knew the size of the boat. I don't know. I just feel like we were gaslit a little bit going into it, of like, this is going to be so great. And it was like, you guys really, like you really did not disclose how small these venues would be and how many people you were going to pack in to this boat. Like, I felt like we just got duped. I don't know. It feels, maybe it's too fresh. But let's get into the sets, the real value, the real joy, the positives of this experience. So Thursday, I mentioned in my prep video that last year, like we really didn't start shows until Sail Away. So the schedule really started like afternoon through evening, and usually it was like wrapped up by midnight. And then they had like some extra like things that you could do, and like other people had like unofficial meetups and stuff. This year they packed the schedule from like morning to like overnight. So they definitely put more in the schedule, probably because they knew they had more people, or maybe that's something people requested. So as soon as we got on the boat, we were able to grab a quick lunch and then see Daisy Grenade. They had some women flags, which was great, and really speaking out against like we need more women representation on the boat, like, which is very true. They came out in like their bathing suits and like cover-ups, very much giving like the early 2000s like Veronica's vibe, which was really fun. Like I like that they kind of get into it, and it felt like, oh, we're all like on the boat together. Like it was a cool experience. They did such a great job performing. We saw them side stage. Like we didn't get the best audio version of it because we were behind the speakers, but still such a good experience. They brought a fan on stage to sing with them, which went really well and very cool. High energy, exactly what I expected from them, honestly, because I've seen them live before and they're incredible. So great way to start it out. For the Sail Away set, we had Under Oath, and my prediction was that they were going to come out in their Locust Ultra masks, rip them off, giving a little bit of like a nod to what happened last year. They did not. I wish that they had a little bit more of a sense of humor to do that, but that was okay. This was their Storm set, so it was a lot of heavier songs, and not just like the top popular songs. They played some songs from Disambiguation. They did have they noted that their gear was messing up. Like you could tell some frustration from that, but like incredible set. We were pretty close. Like definitely got like shoved. It was delayed due to rain. Like, there was a lot of stuff happening. And so some negatives, but overall, like it was a good experience. And we were excited about it. They had said prior to the cruise that they were doing 3 sets and 0 repeats, and they stuck to that. So they did bring out new and different songs. So that was just cool to experience, just because there were some that we hadn't heard of even in the Storm set, but it was like very heavy, very like what you think of with Under Oath. Then we got to see Silverstein, just a little bit of their theater set. We like snagged ourselves a seat, but they did like a wheel where they had some people come out and like help spin the wheel. And it was like tell a joke or give a prize, where they throw something out into the crowd, or certain songs, or like an artist pick, or spinner pick. And so thankfully with that, because we were only there for like maybe 30 minutes of their set, they played Smile in Your Sleep and My Heroine, which are the two huge ones that I didn't get to see last time we saw them live. So great. I'm excited that we got that, because we cut their other set short as well. So amazing. He did tell a dad joke about an Irish guy with like a brother. And it was like every day the Irish guy goes to the pub, orders 2 beers, one for him, one for his brother that lives across the world. One day he comes in, orders only one. And they were like, oh, what happened to your brother? And he was like, oh, he's fine. I just stopped drinking. It was funny. So that was fun. The theater was way too small. It was a little chaotic too, but we found a seat. Like we had to ask people to scoot over and all that, but it was fine. After that, we did the Used, and they also said at this point that they were doing 3 completely different sets, which they did. They played some repeats still, like obviously Taste of Ink, every set, that was the end. But they did bring out different songs. And so in this set, they did play from Heartwork. They also played from... Well, I think that was all that they played on this one. But their first 3 albums, of course. It did rain during the set, and that was kind of cool. Like it stopped, so it didn't stay raining. I was a little nervous that like it was going to get shut down. But this was the one where we stood, again, outside of that little barrier area, but right against it. Mosh pit right into us, like, and people trying to crowd surf over our heads. It was insane. But it was fun. We had a good time. And then we did go to Escape the Fate, only for like 3 songs. We were exhausted at that point, and that was in that small theater. We stood at the very back, and so it was cool, like sounded good, but we really didn't get too much out of it. But they had good energy. It was just way too late for us. We needed to go to bed. So Friday, the first full day on the ship, day 2, we did the coffee chat with Hawthorne Heights. Every morning, or at least 3 days, they did like a little coffee chat, and they had coffee and donuts, and like we could be seated. It was in that Spice H2O like outdoor stage area, and they like talked through different things. And so this one, they were talking about kind of the history of emo. Probably not the most prepared, so they kind of went all over the place with it, but they all share kind of their own experiences of like coming into this style of music and how they came together as a band, and like just their personal experiences with it, not just Hawthorne Heights experience, which was interesting. They leaned a lot towards like Jimmy Eat World, and especially the Clarity album by Jimmy Eat World, which is interesting. But just kind of talking about their roads to it. A lot of it was like through kind of more traditional like alternative rock to emo, because of being introduced by, you know, friends and everything, or the skateboard scene, more punk to emo, like that world. So it was really interesting, and a good way to start the day. And like it was a chill, which was nice. Then we did the merch line, long. And there was some decent merch, but all from the bands that we don't really listen to. So it was kind of a bummer because I was wanting like a good Under Oath shirt, like a really cool Used shirt. And I ended up getting a tank top from the Used. I went back to get it because I wanted it. And I was like, price. Like, I don't really know if I want like a cutoff. And they had just released a shirt online. And I was like, I'll just go back and get that shirt because it was cooler. But then I later wanted it. And so I had to get a bigger size. So I'm going to have to alter it. But beyond that, like I was hoping for a really cool The Used shirt. The E&D merch was cool. I got a sweatshirt that says, "Just a girl who listens to sad music." Quality of it, not so great, very expensive, kind of the theme of that. But they had lots of like sweatshirts and all sorts of stuff that you could get. And their merch was okay. Some new things beyond what they've already had. But some of the like bands, again, that we don't really listen to as much, like Escape the Fate, had some really cool merch. Even August Burns Red had some interesting merch. Hawthorne Heights had some like fun stuff. They usually do some cool stuff. So there were some bands that had some really cool options, State Champs, just not the ones that we would typically buy. So we didn't really get much. We got a poster. It was like a cool crab. So that was cool, but kind of a bummer waiting so long in line just for that, but it's okay. It was fine. Then we got to see We the Kings. This was their theater set. So we like ate lunch at the top and then like watched them. Not this one. I'm mixing them up with State Champs. For We the Kings, it was just in the theater, and we only saw like maybe 3 or 4 songs, and they were all a bit slower, so it kind of put us to sleep. But it was nice to like sit, especially after waiting in line forever, like sit for a little bit. They were great, good energy, like the crowd was really into it. So that was cool. Then we went to the pool deck for Hawthorne Heights. All their hits. It was like their hit set. So high energy, great crowd. Ohio is for Lovers, last with the crowd, their typical thing, but no notes, like it's always great, right? Good set. So that was really fun. Then we got to see a little bit of the Copeland acoustic set in the like social room, so a very small space. We ended up sitting, so we didn't get to see him at all. We could just hear, but a beautiful like voice and like nice to just like sit for a minute. That room was actually a little cooler versus like some of the other rooms, so that was nice, but beautiful voice, and cool for acoustics. He ended up doing a cover. I can't remember what the song was. At this point, I should have written that down, but it was cool. Then we went back to the pool deck for Silverstein. They did the same set on the pool deck as they did for their 2025 tour that we went to in December, which is great. So good energy. What was really funny about their set was that before it, all like a Canadian group. So there were different groups that like met up and took a group photo. So like the different kind of theme groups that you connect to if you're going to go on the cruise, like you connect to through Facebook groups. So that's really cool. If you're really into like building community with like niche groups within the big scene, then you can find those. And so all the Canadians met up in Silverstein from Canada. They met up for a group photo and they were right beside us. And the lead singer, Shane from Silverstein, he ran over and took a photo with them in their group photo, and like they were so excited, and like it was just really cute because we were just right there. Like they kind of pushed us out of the way to take it, but it was fun to see that experience. They handed out these cute little bracelets that said like AMOs, EH-MOs, like emo, but A. So it was cute, and we got one of those, so we got to be Canadian. Then we went to the comedy set. So Natalie Cuomo was the headliner. We've seen her in New York. She did a lot of the same stuff that she did when we saw her in New York in December, which I guess is expected. Not many people would have already seen her there, but it was okay. She tried working with the crowd, didn't work super well. Uncle Laser was one. He was very raunchy, very intense. Weird guy, but, added some energy. Liked to party. Neil Rubenstein was the host. He did okay. Like he kind of interacted with the crowd. Like the crowd was weird. It was almost like some people have never been to a comedy show before and didn't like being interacted with, which was interesting, especially people sitting on the front row. There were a lot of people who just did not want to be interacted with, but obviously we're on the front row, so they were. So that didn't go so well, but it was okay. The best set was the first comedian after Neil, Matt Edgar. He tailored his set to like the emo world. Apparently he did like Warped Tour last year, so I don't know how much of that he rotated, he pulled that into the Aaron Gillespie set, Looking Ahead, and did like the same set. So we did hear repeats, but his set was good. It was very funny. He did tell a brand new joke, and I love brand new, but he was hating on them, but that's okay. And then there was like another comedian. I didn't even write down his name. He was just okay. So overall, good. Not bad, but not amazing. And I think some of that was due to the crowd. Like, it was a tough crowd. Then we went and saw August Burns Red in the theater. The theater did have like some cool lights on the ceiling. And August Burns Red had such a cool like light video set to their set, which was cool to see. I'm not super familiar with a lot of their music. My husband liked it a lot more than me. Like, just screaming is not really my thing. I like to hear what they're saying. But they had even like some of the lyrics on the screen, which was great, and like the lights. So very cool, very good energy. So that was really fun. We stayed only for a few songs to just like catch some of that. And then we went to Hot Mulligan in the atrium. It was so crowded. We only stayed for 2 songs, and we were like, let's get out of here. Then we went to the pool deck for Dance Gavin Dance. Again, only a few songs for that as well. But people were very into Dance Gavin Dance. And so the crowd was insane. They're very packed. Like, we stood far back for that one. So we're just not as familiar, but I know people really loved their sets and have heard good things about it through the Facebook group. I can't really say that much about it just because we were only there for a short amount of time. But then we went to the theater line for Story of the Year, since they were one of our tops. And we got in line 45 minutes before doors opened, but we did get incredible seats. And that was probably my favorite set. If I pulled out one set from the entire like lineup, the Story of the Year theater set, it was at like midnight, was incredible. It was supposed to be earlier in the day, which is how we got all the other little things popped in there. But we stayed up late, and it was amazing. They played their 2 released songs from their new album, Disconnected and Gasoline, which were so good. They also did, you can't do like crowd surfing circle pits. Like, the theater is mostly sitting with a tiny bit of standing space. And then they actually let people stand on the stairs, which they did not do last year. But there were people still being a little rowdy, but you just couldn't do anything crazy. So there was one where he wanted to do like a circle pit. And so he invited a few fans on the stage to do it on the stage. Well, of course, a bunch of people just rushed the stage. Like, literally, I saw like 3 guys run down the stairs, push everyone out of the way to get on stage after he'd already picked the few people. And like the guitar tech like came out to try to protect the equipment. Like, it was a little crazy, and apparently he got hurt, and so it was just kind of a mess. So that was not so great, but it worked out okay. And they all got off the stage. So overall, good experience. I don't think anyone got overly hurt, and Dan, as a partier, was so into it. I feel like Story of the Year had the best vibes of the crowd, like vibes of the whole set. I think because they're made for this kind of world where, like, even when there were technical issues, like, they handled it really well. They have a great sense of humor. They're really connected to the fans and like in it with the fans. And that really showed. So you could see it there, but it was so good. So good. Like, screamed every song, like, was so into it, was really into it, and just had a blast at that set. Saturday was the port day. We didn't get off the boat. We did that last year, and it worked out really well. I'm glad we did that this year because we got to enjoy some of the things that just weren't even possible most days. So we did a run around the pool deck, or the upper deck, which was fun. We went to the pool for a little bit, got in the hot tub, I didn't have a lot of bad experiences with kids. Like, again, I think it should still be adults only, but maybe like some teens and older kids because they were really cool. But did have a small child in the hot tub, like literally trying to swim under the water and like kicking me, grabbing my leg. And I was like, I just want to lay here for like 10 minutes. Like, that's all I want. The mom was just like making jokes about it, but not even caring. And I just had to close my eyes and like tune her out. I was like, let me just pretend this isn't happening. So that was a bummer, but fine, whatever. It's a kid's world we live in, I guess. But that was all we did. And then we went out to the sun deck for a little bit. We were able to get some spots there because everyone was off the boat, got ready, had a good lunch, and then we just sort of people watched everyone coming back to the port. So we had to see a lot of the bands coming back, which was cool. And then Story of the Year. So they ended the second day, Friday, and then they started Saturday with the Sail Away from the Port set. It was so hot, but it was great. The only problem was that they did play pretty much the same set, except like a few songs. Like, they didn't play Disconnected, which was a bummer. I love that one. It was so good live. But they had great energy, great crowd. Like, it was amazing. Even if it was most of the same songs, I still loved it. I just wish they would have played more because they have so many good songs. And so if they come back next year, like, give us a couple of extra sets, like play some more songs, because you're good, amazing, and I want to see more songs. But I'm happy no matter what. Then we got to see The Used, also on the pool deck. The Used was the only band that only played the pool deck. I'm sure that was part of their agreement. We waited forever to get a really good spot, and we had a good crowd near us for the majority of it, which was great. They didn't repeat anything from the first set that I could tell except Taste of Ink, which was also amazing. They did play Paradise Lost, which was on my list. I love that song, and like, I've never seen that live, so that was really cool. They played another song from Artwork. They played Paralyzed with dancers on the stage like they did in their 3-album 25-year tour. The problem is that the crowd for this set was so dangerous. Crowd surfing was insane. This was the one where there were crowd surfers. Like, we were, again, in front of that area where there was like the benches, and then more people more scattered because it was kind of a hole, and then packed on the other side. Most of the crowd surfing happened right in the middle, which is where it should happen. People were putting up crowd surfers right behind us where there was no one in front of us, like in a whole line. And so that was kind of crazy. And so like my husband and a few of the guys that were in kind of the group around us, like, we're trying to handle that. Like, the circle pit, that vibe was like pushing into us too. So that was crazy. But we all handled it and it was fine. It was just a little like, oh my God. That was the realization of like, we're not standing in this section again. Like, we're getting back into like this little hole, because it just felt chaotic and like very unsafe. There were people who would go to the little benches in front of us and just jump with no one watching them into people. And like, I'm sure a lot of people got like black eyes and knocked out and all sorts of stuff. So it was insane. And the end of the set, like when all that was happening, I feel like we got very disassociated from like the music, and just, it felt like we were just kind of watching and like trying to be safe more than like enjoying it. So kind of tough, but still great set. Then we did Under Oath. They had a Define the Great Line set on the pool deck. And then they did some others after that. But like, it was a cool set. They like pulled in some of the instrumental work, like very cool. They stuck to that. And then they pulled out some of their other music. They did A Boy Brushed Red, Living in Black and White. They did Love Is Gone, like some big ones. This one is where, again, the crowd, it's like it carried over from The Used. But this one, we were inside the little barrier area and right against that, very close to the front. And by the end, it was like the last 2 songs maybe, this guy that was at least double my size. I'm 5'4", like pretty small, but he's huge. Shirt off, whatever, tattoos all over. But he jumps up on this little bench, which they were trying to get people not to stand, but as a crowd, because the staff wasn't doing that super well for a lot of the sets, we were all kind of like, okay, get down, like, don't stand, because you're blocking people's views, but also like it's slippery. Drinks have been spilled on it all night. Like, it's unsafe. And this dude is huge. So he gets on there, stands right in front of me, butt in my face. Huge dude. So I do a little tap on the leg, like, okay. He's facing the band. Well, he gets pissed. So he jumps down and decides, we're all packed in this little area already, but he decides to push his way through and just start throwing his arm at me. So my husband sort of like shifts, because my husband's also tall, 6'4", so close to the same height as this guy. So he shifts to be in between us, because this guy's like pounding his leg and his arm towards me the whole like 2 songs. And I think at one point I kind of like push his arm out of the way, because I'm like, come on. Like, he literally could probably elbow me and knock me out, like big dude. And like could break my foot. And so like I'm freaking out a little bit, because I'm like, what is this guy doing? Like, is he like, what is happening? And so that happens. Well, then they're about to play the last song. They kind of talk to the crowd. He's like talking to us like we're all cool. And I'm just like, I don't know what your deal is. Like, we just kind of focus on the band. Well, then after the last song, like this guy comes to me and he's like, tries to talk down on me. And he was like, don't you know, like, you're not supposed to shove anybody, like when they're walking through the crowd, like that's not cool. You can't do that. Like, just so you know, like that kind of vibe. Should have just walked away. Like I got a little mad, because I'm like, no way you're talking to me like this. Like, I'm not going to like just cower down because you're this big dude. And so I'm like, you were standing there. I tapped your leg. You weren't walking through. It was unsafe. Like, move on. Like, and then he starts like telling me like all these, like threatening me about how like I was so wrong and like that I don't do that and like my etiquette was bad. Well, like threatening me of like how terrible it was, cowering over me. And so my husband finally steps in. He's like, dude, like back up. He was like, you effed up. Like to my husband. I was like literally trying to start a fight with my husband about this. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, are you serious? I was like, do you really think that you're just like a big bad man? Like, what are you doing? Like, this is stupid. And finally, like we got away from him and he was like, oh, you effed up. Like, you're going to figure it out. Like you're going to figure out like you effed up. Like, that's how and I was like, you're threatening us? Like, what the heck? And the boat already didn't feel safe. Like, and this was all happening right in front of security because we were right there on like the barrier part. Like there was a security guy right there who saw all of it. And nothing, of course. So finally we just like, whatever, walked away. Never saw the guy again, thankfully. Hopefully he got just like super drunk and like, I don't know, lived his own life. Like I'm sure karma pays its dues. But that was pretty bad. So like we went to bed. We might have done some stuff after. We were like really overstimulated, like kind of shaken up by it, but like furious by it. I also felt a little guilty. So I was like, oh, I should have known better. Like I shouldn't talk to these drunk guys. But also at the same time, I'm like, it's like this dude is huge. Like how dare he like threaten me? Like that's not okay. Like I don't like guys going unchecked like that, especially when they just think that they're so macho and like so great. He was not. So that was that. But I went to bed. So last full day on sea, Sunday, we were going to do the mosh workout with like the August Burns Red guy, which I'm sure was great. But my husband saw like the first one a little bit and it was like people on the ground. I'm like, people are literally reports after all this, people peeing themselves because bathrooms, I didn't talk about that either. The bathrooms were disgusting a majority of the time. The staff couldn't keep up with it compared to the crowds. A lot of bathrooms would just get shut down. The lines would be insane around the venues. And so there were people peeing their pants. Someone pooped on the floor in like one of the hallways. Like people were throwing up. Like all that was happening. So no heck of a way my hands are touching the floor. So we saw that happening and we were like, we're not doing that. So we skipped the mosh workout. It was also way too hot anywhere. Like again, a sauna. So we skipped it. And instead, we got to have a little bit of a slower morning, which was great. We saw Hot Mulligan on the pool deck, and that was really fun. We saw more of their songs than we did the first set that we tried to catch, and people were so excited about Hot Mulligan. I think they weren't originally supposed to be on the pool deck, but they moved them there, which was great. In a way that Six Man responded. Stanley State Champs, like earlier in the trip, they were supposed to be like on the Spice H2O small stage, I think, or somewhere else, and they moved them to the pool deck because there was such a high demand for their set, and apparently it was really full. We didn't go. I think it was a like 1 a.m. set. But the same happened with Hot Mulligan, and it was fun. Like there was a lot of like, I mean, these are like punk shows, right? So a lot of political talk in a great way, but it was like every song he had to have something to say and like had a lot of opinions, just fine. A lot of people agreed, but it was like, okay, every song. It almost felt like he was really trying hard to do it, you know? They're a newer band, so probably. Then we had lunch in the atrium. So the really cool thing about the atrium stage is that there is a restaurant on the upper part of it. So you can kind of sit along the little balcony and look over and enjoy a set and have food. So that's really nice. That's nice if you get there early and you can do that. So we did that with State Champs. They had a karaoke set where they had people sign up and different people sang their songs. So they played with the band and they sang the songs, and then the lead singer kind of helped if he needed to. So we didn't really see State Champs. We saw people doing karaoke with State Champs, but it was fun. Like the people doing the karaoke were great. It was cool to just like sit for a little bit, enjoy our food, really fun. Then we went back on the pool deck for August Burns Red, a few of their songs. We watched that from the upper deck, and that was really fun. And then we went to the theater for the Aaron Gillespie and Friends like acoustic set. Last year, that was one of our favorites. Aaron played some of the songs from the Almost. He played a country song, and we were all like booing, which was great. He referenced like Morgan Wallen, which especially being in Nashville, it's like absolutely not. But then he was like, oh, Morgan Wallen without the racism. It's like, yeah, maybe shouldn't be Morgan Wallen at all. But he played a song that he wrote It was fine. And then he brought out some different people. So he brought out Tim from Under Oath, and they did a couple of songs together. One that he had written for the Almost, but Tim helped with. Tim's daughter actually came out, and I don't remember her name, but her band is Social Wreckage. And so she played a song that she wrote that is part of Social Wreckage. And that was actually really great, and everyone was into it. They also did a couple of Under Oath songs. So Spencer also came out, and so that was great. I love Under Oath acoustic. I wish they would do more acoustic because it's really good and interesting. So that was cool. They had the guy that did kind of the emo comedy set. He came out and did his set as like a little bit of a break. The lead singer, the Copeland guy, he came out and sang part of a song, the I Could Hear From the Discord, that song, with Under Oath. So that was cool. They did tell a story before their first song with Spencer about a Warped Tour cruise where a guy like jumped from an upper deck into an empty pool and like broke his legs. And during the song that came right after that story, they turned off their mics because there was like an emergency announcement. Someone had a medical emergency. So Aaron was like, oh my God, like I shouldn't have told that story. Like, that was interesting. And then their last song, they brought out Uncle Laser, the comedian guy who apparently plays harmonica, and just had him play harmonica to one of their songs with them. And that was fun. So kind of fun, but interesting, but fun. That's a great set. So if you do go on the cruise, I'm sure they'll keep doing that set. It's really good and fun to hear their stories and all of that. After that, we went to the pool deck for the Used. It was hot, so it was like an earlier set, like 4:45, something like that. They started late, and they probably only played a 30-minute set when it was supposed to be like an hour or 15, which was annoying. Like a couple of bands did that where they cut them short, and I get it. Like I think that it was just too hot, and the Used probably just didn't want to play in the daytime because they don't normally do that. I loved it because that's where I could get like some decent videos and photos because it was brighter. So that was cool. The crowd was also better, I think, because it was a shorter set and it was hot. So we stayed in like our little barrier area. Much better experience. We almost didn't stay close because after everything that had happened the day before, I was like, I just don't know if I trust these crowds and like the security and all of it. I don't want to get hurt in a fight. Like I'm too old for that, but it was great. Probably just because it was a short set. And I'm sure a lot of people who were planning to come catch the end of the set were very disappointed because it just cut off so early and again started so late. So a little frustrating, but fine. They did play Box of Sharp Objects, which is the one I love. Sean from Sapinin Podcast, he came out and did the screaming part of Sharp Objects. At first I was like, who is this dude coming on this stage? Like, I'm not about it. And then he was great. And I love the screaming part. And Bert just doesn't do it as well like anymore, which is fine. His voice isn't right. Can't do that anymore. Like that was the first album. It pushed it too hard at the beginning. But this guy could scream really well. So it was so good. They also played Blood on My Hands, which is interesting. Again, not a lot of repeats, which was awesome. I could tell that they put a lot of effort into it, and that was great. So amazing. Then we went to the theater for the Under Oath float set, and this was a bit of a mess. So we were really excited about the set, and once we started seeing it, so the vibe was a lot of the music they do not normally play from some of their like albums in between, like before kind of the whole Spencer Aaron leaving the band, but like after Define the Great Line. So those couple of albums in there, they played a lot of those songs, and then they made them very vibey, like lots of like Spencer played different instruments, like everyone had like those little electronic board things, and then the lights were weird and kind of like groovy. Like it was very cool. The problem, again, we got half the set. They cut it short because Spencer's in-ears weren't working from the first song, and he got so mad. And I totally get it because I'm sure it's frustrating. He's like cursing about the audio guys, like trying to get them to fix it. They can't. Like he's throwing, like drinking his water, throwing it at the wall. The very end of the set, once they cut it short, he like threw his whole microphone and stand on the ground, like so mad. And kind of referenced it a little bit, but I think he was trying to push through it, but it just wasn't working. Like really, they probably should have just like gone to like an acoustic set or somehow just like shifted it. But I think that's just not who they are. But then even one of the drum microphones stopped working. So like everyone felt stressed. We were all stressed. It was really cool. I wish we could have seen it. I hope that they do that set. I keep saying like, do that exact set in Nashville with your own audio crew that you trust in a place here that's great for it. Like I would go, it would be amazing. Because it was really cool. It was like very, very cool. But it just wasn't executed like they wanted it to be, or like we wanted it to be. So kind of a bummer. Then we saw a bit of Amberlynn. We got to like watch that set next to Shane, told of Silverstein and his wife. So that was kind of fun. Talk to them a little bit. But that was with Matty Mullins. I think he's kind of like the set one now, but very good. Everyone was singing into it. And then we ended the night on the upper, we got like dessert and tea on like the upper section of that atrium area. Got to just sit, but closed it all down with Story of the Year acoustic, and they did such a good job. Like they played some of the same songs they had played. They did play 2005, which I love, and I was hoping that they would play, especially in acoustic. It made sense. That was really the only new song they played compared to all the songs they had already played. So only criticism, but they're so good at just interacting with the crowd, like telling stories. Dan was acting silly, like just throwing random songs out, like covers of things, and the whole crowd singing together. Like he just took like, I think they all have ADHD, but he kind of took from the crowd, like played and told jokes, and they were joking around and just having fun, which was such a good way to end it. Of like, they're having fun, we're having fun, like this is great. Everyone's into it. It's fun and exciting, and just a really fun way to like close it all down. And then after that, we walked through the casino area a little bit because they were having like the Casino Royale, some people dressed up. We didn't really spend a lot of time there. Like casinos bummed me out, and like it was the same here. Like people were at the casino like early in the morning still. I'm like, I don't like that vibe. Nor did we really have time for it. So didn't really seem that great. We kept walking. I know that some people ran into Bert and Spencer and like all the band members there, but just not our thing. So we didn't do that. But then we packed up our bags, and next morning, like ate breakfast, got off the boat, got home, and that was it. So overall, it was a good experience. I think if this was our first experience with it, like we probably would have seen it only rosy. I think just because we had the other experience, like we knew that it could be better. And will we sign up next year? So how this works is if you're an alumni, they send you earliest booking times, and they send them out to alumni first. And I think it's stacked based on like how many years you're an alumni. Like you can purchase like credits on the boat that apparently move you up in line or something. And then it goes out to pre-sale people. So you can go ahead and sign up for that. And then after that, it goes to like general public. So next week we should get like our earliest booking time, which will probably be a week or two after that. They usually don't announce the lineup before purchase. They did announce on the boat. I forgot this. They did like a special announcement about how they're coming back another year on the same boat. But Mayday Parade is going to be there. That is the only confirmed. A lot of bands were throwing out that they were coming back, but I don't trust any of them. So I don't know if they're 100% booked. The only one we know of for sure is Mayday Parade. And that was when they did sort of like a little voicemail FaceTime thing with Derek from Mayday Parade, announcing that they were going to be there next year. So that'll be cool. I love Mayday Parade. But they've already sent out surveys. So we take our surveys, and in that we put like who we want to see and like, you know, that piece of it. But so we'll all get our earliest booking time, and we'll have the opportunity to book again. And I don't know, like halfway through the trip, we were like, absolutely not. We're not coming back. This was terrible. Not worth it anymore. And by the end, I was like, there still were some great experiences, like being able to be close in these sets, like see some of these bands, like that is such a special experience. We got lucky that like our floor wasn't so bad. Like, and we didn't have people, like there were stories of people like the wrong person pounding on their door trying to get in while they were sleeping. Like one couple, like they came back to their room and someone was in their bed. Like somehow their door didn't lock. Like there were lots of sexual assault, like allegations and stories on the Facebook group. Again, people doing their business together in public, like lots of naked people on balconies, lots of drunk people ruining a lot of sets. So all that, I don't know. Lots of people vaping were technically they shouldn't have been. Like, no one really respecting the no smoking and smoking areas, because again, everyone was stuck waiting in lines. As someone who's really sensitive to that stuff, like, that sucked. So it's hard not to see the negatives so strongly with that much money. It's also hard to think about missing out on it, because I went into it thinking like, no matter what, we'll do one more year and then decide what to do, to see like what other bands will be there. Because I'm assuming the Used isn't coming back. I love the Used, but I would like to see another band, like another big band, because we've seen them now twice on the cruise. And so I don't know. We'll have to cool down a little bit and decide what we're thinking about. We're considering looking into some of the other cruises, like Holidays for Real, or I think, is it called Never Enders? That other one that goes on. So who knows? Do I recommend that you go? I think, again, don't listen to any, like my review from 2025, like don't even listen to it. It's not the same. So if you're going based on that, don't. If you're really aware of how it was different this year and going only on reviews this year, and that sounds great to you, go for it. So that's all I'll say on that. That's how I'll wrap up today's episode.